Break.
Welcome back to another episode of the Budget Overland podcast. I'm your host Benji, and today we're gonna go a little. We're gonna get fun or edgy. I don't think it's edgy. I think we're just gonna have a fun conversation. I've got two different guys in the house, in the studio, whatever. I've got Kyle and Hayden. They're both avid backpackers, or used to be. We'll find out here in this podcast. And what I wanted to do with this episode was kind of talk about the similarities and differences, and if they benefited from becoming, Overlander after becoming a backpacker, kind of little tips and tricks they probably learned and carried over here. And they'll share that with us. We're going to just talk about rigs and just everything in between. Nothing's very structured in this or on this podcast, so we'll just get after it. Without further ado, we've got Hayden in the house. How are you, Hayden?
I'm doing well, Benji. How are you?
Fine, thank you. And we've got Kyle in the house. Kyle, how are you?
Pretty good. How about you?
Good, man. Welcome to the podcast.
Glad to be here.
Actually, a moderator on the Budget Overland Facebook group. And then, Kyle, you've been in the Budget Overland group for a while.
I met you a couple of years ago at Rendezvous, and I knew I knew of you, but didn't know you very well. But I made contact with you at the Rendezvous back in 2021 or 22.
Okay. Very cool. Yeah, man. You've got a 4Runner, and Hayden, I'm assuming you drive a Jeep.
I do, actually, and that's why this is the perfect topic for me, because I drive a two-door Wrangler.
Does it just happen we got our rig shirts on?
Hey, I had to represent.
So yeah, man. Let's kind of get into things. We'll skip back all the way to the backpacking and your vehicles. Let's talk about vehicles right now. So Hayden, go ahead and you can go ahead and tell us about your rig. It's two-door Jeep. What is it? JK, JL, YJ?
It is a JK. I am too poor to afford a JL. That is out of my budget. So I have a 2013 two-door JK. It is lightly modded with some tires, bumper up front, and really that's it. I carry a trash through. It's very light, very budget.
Are you a rooftop tenter or a ground dweller or a hammock guy? Or you sleep in your rig?
I am a ground dweller. Like Jay, I was in military. I still am. I've got 6 months left. So with that, I kind of just throw a small ground tent and camp wherever.
Nice. Easy going. What about you, Kyle?
I've got a 22 4Runner, and I've got a rooftop tent, Rome Vagabond, and I got a Westcott roof rack, ladder, some tires I found off Marketplace, and an Ironman front bumper that I hope to put a winch in soon.
Nice. Very good. So I've got you guys here on the show because I posted on. Well, me and Kyle have kind of been talking about doing this for a while, and then I asked him. I was like, "Would you be opposed if we had some other people on here and you guys kind of spitball off each other?" And so then I posted, and then Hayden volunteered, which I appreciate both you guys coming on the show. And so let's go back to how long have you guys been backpackers, and what do backpackers? What does that entail for most of us that might not know?
Walking.
Who wants to handle this one?
Well, I guess I'll go first, since I would assume I'm the lesser experienced one, since you said he's been doing it for a while. But what got me into backpacking was I really didn't have a lot of money to spend, and backpacking kind of fit my budget right then and there. And the smaller stuff was letting me, because I primarily use kayaks to paddle down waterways and actually get off the kayak and backpack off of trails going other ways, because I was a pro staffer for Vibe Kayaks and did it that way. So
you would just float and then camp on the banks.
Float, fish, camp on the banks in a hammock, and then hike the trail, and then come back, make it out and back, and come back and get back on the kayak and paddle back down the river or the lake or whatever else I was on.
That sounds pretty fun and exhausting on the same time.
Definitely, it's well, when you got really light paddles and a motor on your kayak, that does help.
Oh, okay. You cheated a little bit there, but that's
I had a pedal drive.
Okay. Still doing a little bit. What about you, Hayden?
So it all started when I joined the military, and I was just forced to walk without wanting to. So that's how I started backpacking against my will. And I grew to love it, honestly. It became peaceful, and I met my wife, and she, like me, is an outdoor enthusiast. She also prior military, and I don't know, we've just been backpacking since we met, and that was about 3 or 4 years ago.
Nice. So tell us what backpacking is. You guys could each have your own definition. Let's start with you, Hayden.
Walking great distances over multiple days and staying out overnight, and everything you have, you're carrying on you the entire time.
Okay. What about you, Kyle?
And that's pretty much the same thing. You definitely want to carry everything that you have with you, like your shelter, your food, your water, and your toiletries or whatnot. And you're out for a couple of days, marking up 12, 13 miles a day at most. Some, super hikers can hike that far, but usually I try to keep around 6 or 8 and just make it from one end to the other.
Very
Kind
cool.
of like the Lake of Ouachita Vista Trail in Arkansas.
How long is that?
That one was, I can't remember the mileage, but it goes from Shangri-La up on the west end of Lake of Ouachita and goes all the way to Brady Mountain Dam.
Hmm. Is that like I know Arkansas is very known for like hiking and stuff. Is there like some really hardcore trails that you would
I
suggest
never,
or tell people to stay away from?
it's called the Lovett Trail was the big one that I knew of, and there was another one that came out of Mena and went up through the same direction, but I can't remember the name of it. But I would definitely get that back to you if I can. I'd have
Okay.
to Google to find out the name of it. But there is another one that's a lot longer that starts over toward Mena in Wilhelmina, Oklahoma.
Hmm. What about you, Hayden? Is there any like killer trails out where you're at? Where are you from anyway? Are you California?
So I wish I would have a lot more land opportunities to get out there. I'm in Texas, which is a very privately owned
Yeah.
state.
Yeah, I know
So
it is.
for me, the largest trail around is in the Sam Houston National Forest, and it's about 93 miles. So it takes about 3 or 4 days.
Mm. What kind of terrain is that?
Very wooded, very humid, just dense southwest, southern thick forest.
What do you guys primarily pack or take with you? Like that's like your go-to loadout, I guess. You guys, Kyle, you can go first on this one.
My go-to loadout was I had a GSR Soloist, which was this little hot pot, and an MSR pocket rocket I used for boiling water, and I would kind of primarily eat the Mountain House meals. And then water was just I would filter stream water with the Sawyer squeeze pouch, I think is what I remember it being called, and then a featherweight sleeping bag, uh, Wise Owl hammock, and a bug net to keep the mosquitoes off of me. And that's primarily what I carry there. Just a cook set, extra socks, always extra socks, and then the cook set and the water and the food was my primary loadout.
How much did that weigh? Have you ever weighed it
Weighed it, it
or
was
packed?
about
Yeah.
25 to 30 pounds.
Okay. All right, Hayden. Let's go through your go-to items that you take with you.
So for me, the most important thing is boots. Unfortunately, I always choose wrong, and Vans have these hiking boots. So I can't go out and let the squirrels know I'm lame, so I have to wear the Vans. With
That's
that
pretty
being
smart.
said, I also carry a two-person lightweight tent from REI. I believe it's the Camp 2. A lot of what I carry is from REI, honestly. And I carry a Academy store sleeping bag with me. It's McMullen or I forget the
Magellan.
name. Magellan. Yes, it's surprisingly good. It is surprisingly good. That is a good budget sleeping bag.
Yeah,
A
the two that I've got, I'm not sure what they are, but they're similar to Magellan, but they're bottom of the barrel.
I also carry a little REI camping kit, a jet boil, and then a little bag with toilet paper, hygiene, and a little thing to dig a little hole for doing your biz.
Cool. How much does your pack weigh?
About 35 pounds.
35?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Now, what made you guys transition, I guess, over to overlanding or the simulators? Are you guys still both avid packers, or what do you guys tell us about yourselves?
Well,
Kyle,
I
I'll let
don't,
you go first.
I don't backpack much anymore. I still have my backpack and all the backpacking gear, but I've just kind of adapted it to my Forerunner. But kind of what allowed us or me to adapt into overlanding was that my wife was interested in the outdoors, and but she didn't backpack. And I always wanted another Forerunner, and we ended up going to a Bass Pro, and Toyota was there, and we ended up test driving one. I said I'd like to have this one, and she said we can get this one as long as we save for it, make it a budget item, and that's what happened. We just adapted that to what we were already doing. Just kind of upgraded the ground combing tent and stuff like that, and just adapted it to do it on a vehicle.
Cool, man. What about you, Hayden?
So, although I'm a mod for the Budget Overland podcast, I'm a terrible overlander because I carry a lot of backpacking gear and nothing I have is fancy. No scottles, no rooftop tents. It's mainly just gear that I've gotten from the Army or Academy REI gear. The really only thing I'll invest good money in is a good tent, good sleeping bag, and good socks and boots.
Mm-hmm. What was what intrigued you to get into the overlanding scene from backpacking? Or you
Because
still backpack a lot?
I still backpack a lot, and I'll overland because I'll take my Jeep and I'll go out, go place to place, and off road during the day. But I've just been a vehicle enthusiast my entire life. In high school, I had a '79 Camaro at the very end, and I've just had sports cars up until a few years ago. And I grew out of that, got into off-roading, and already had a love for the outdoors, so it just mixed perfectly.
Yeah, cool, man. I like that story.
Uh,
So you have a really good and easy, I guess, load out or load in, whatever you want to call it, whenever you're transitioning from backpacking, come home. Maybe next weekend you go on a 4-night trip or whatever, overland trip or whatever. You just grab the same stuff. You're really familiar with it. What about you, Kyle? Do you integrate a lot of your camping stuff, or since you've upgraded a lot from something like?
I've added all of my backpacking gear with it, but I've also added to it because you obviously can't cook in quantity like you can with bigger items, like you can't do on a backpack stove. But really, we've only bought a Jetboil Genesis and a toolbox, just kind of consolidate all of the backpacking gear inside of it. But I still have about 90% of my backpacking gear that goes with us because
Yeah.
small is obviously your friend and you don't want to carry a whole bunch of weight. But we just kind of upgraded the cook set and the tent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like earlier with my idea of doing this was like kind of, if you're backpacking, ideally you want to be as light as possible, but yet you want to still bring your amenities, to cook stuff, for your shelter and bedding or
Right.
whatever. You take all the stuff. So I was assuming having backpacked and then went to overlanding, you guys would have a better respect maybe for um, space and weight maybe in the back of your head. Would that be true, or kind of now that you've got all the room and the extra muscle to move it, you just throw that out the window?
Yeah, definitely true. As far as my experience in backpacking, you have some of the really experienced backpackers that kind of go specifically for what they name as lightweight stuff, or they're really measuring how many grams something weighs, and they really try to pack out really, really light. And so, a lot of times, if you go to a hiking trail, some of the newer people out where have really heavy backpacks and kind of have a lot of unnecessary stuff. So that's kind of where I learned to only pack what you need and kind of learn what you need and add it then instead of kind of overpack in the beginning because you kind of wear
Right.
yourself out quicker on the trail if you do that.
Has that helped you in your decision making with your Forerunner?
Oh, definitely. As far as everything in my Forerunner that I have, as far as the bumper, the tent, the rack, everything has a purpose and nothing there is not used.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. What about you, Hayden?
Well, I didn't gain very much more space when transitioning.
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, I don't know. It made me definitely respect the little bit more stuff that I can carry. The fact that when I go out overlanding, I can throw wood in my trasheroo and I can have a nice campfire. I can have a few beers. It's a more relaxing experience. Whereas for me, backpacking is something, it's something you do very occasionally to get out there, change what you're doing, and be more active and feel slightly more connected to everything than you would if you were overlanding.
Okay.
Def-
Would you agree with that, Kyle?
oh, definitely. You're pretty much out there with what your bare necessities is what you really need, and you really don't have much time to bring fluff, is what I would call it. And you
Yes.
pretty much just out there in nature, and that's what it is. And there's no time that I could go anywhere and get in a hammock and fall asleep quicker than anything just listening to a stream roll by.
I think, yeah, especially you guys do that solo whenever you're out backpacking. You go with the group or your significant others. What do you guys prefer?
I went out solo, but I also go out with couples other people.
I will not go backpacking solo just for safety reasons. With that being said, I normally go with my spouse, and even then, we let someone else know where we're going to be and the expected time when to come back. But overlanding, I'll go by myself and I'll just kind of let my spouse know where I'm at. So, yeah, it's a little different.
Definitely,
So,
and
hey,
the times I would just kind of add on to him going not going out solo, but what I would do is still make a Facebook post and post a general map area and say this is my route, this is where I'll be. I'm supposed to be back home at this time, and if something happens, y'all know at least where to start looking. So I
yeah,
left a safety post on Facebook when I did that stuff by myself.
that's pretty smart. So Kyle, your wife doesn't necessarily care to hike with you or backpack with you, but she likes to overland with you. Is that correct?
She likes to hike. She's never backpacked.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, okay. I was gonna say you guys are probably the opposite, but Hayden, your wife likes to do both, or does she primarily just like to backpack?
No, she enjoys both.
Okay.
Like me, she owns a Wrangler, but I'll admit she's smarter than I was, and she got the four door, so she's able to carry more stuff. So
That's funny.
when we go camping together, sometimes we'll take her car, and it's a much different experience. So she gets super hyped for both, but for very
Okay. Cool.
different reasons.
I always ask the men, if they're married or their girlfriends or whatever, if their significant other or whoever wants to go with them. And, most of the time you hear in this industry or in the overland world, a lot of females aren't involved, which I think it's kind of funny. I don't know if it's the guys just are too rowdy when they take them and they lose lose the ladies or what happens, but I'm just curious. I know a lot of women kind of like the amenities, but there's stuff out there too to make it really comfortable. So anyway, that's just where I was going with that. Guys, do you have any big trips coming up, overland wise? Kyle, you can go first if you want.
Oh, for me, I'm expecting my baby boy Archer November 11th, so my camping expeditions will be on hold for at least a few months until we can
Uh-huh.
understand how to get him out there. But
Uh-huh.
hopefully, when he grows and starts walking and gets potty trained, we can actually start returning to the woods. And I know there's a lot of folks on natural state overland and budget overland that have young kids that still go, but we'll definitely reach out to them and ask for advice as far as getting them out. But we definitely don't want to do it too prematurely and just kind of drag a baby out there and gonna get out there where we don't need to be.
Let me crush your dreams just a little bit, not too much. But whenever we had mine, I was like, oh man, I can't wait till we go, fishing together. I can't wait till we go work on trucks together. Man, they grow up kind of slow. And then all of a sudden they're like kids or, young kids. So my son now is 6 years old. So I was like you. I was like, man, we're gonna go kayaking together, we're gonna do all this stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think getting them introduced to camping and stuff ain't nothing. But anyway, I thought that was funny.
Oh,
Hayden, what about you?
I'm not gonna lie, I forgot the question. What was the question again?
Ask him the question, Kyle.
Is there any future overlanding trips
Oh,
planned?
yes. Sorry. I get distracted by thinking about my own stories with my kids while camping and stuff. But the only thing I have planned right now is me and my wife are going to drive up to Washington to see my children over Christmas. And for that, we'll probably be stopping at like different parks and camping overnight. So I wouldn't really call it
You
overlanding, but
don't be so technical on yourself. Everybody out there that's trying to be too technical over this crap, just throw that out the window. You do you, man. You go overlanding.
But
Have you driven that before? From Texas to Washington.
I have driven halfway from Texas to Utah with two young ones on the back, and it was a miserable experience.
How long are you expecting this trip?
Me and my wife planned it out to be over 2 weeks, so we'll kind of take it day by day. However far we get is however far we get.
Cool, man. I love it. I love it. What part of Washington? You don't have to be super specific, but is it like all the way up top, or is it kind of at the coast, or is it the southeast, or what part?
It's JBLM, so I'm trying to think where that is in Washington State, but I've never been stationed there, so I've never really looked into it. I know it's about an hour from Seattle.
oh, that's
So
not
Yeah, you're
far
on
at
the
all. So
coast
that's
there.
northwest.
you're saying that's not far at all, but I'm in Central Texas. That's a good drive. That's a little bit more
Well,
than
Yeah.
down the
no,
road.
I meant the hour distance between your station and wherever you're going to Seattle.
Oh no, that's not bad.
Uh,
Probably why slots for that place never open up. No one wants to leave.
so Kyle, you're not going to Rendezvous?
No, I have to work. Unfortunately, it's just got to be on graveyards, and the way
Yep.
my vacation works out at my work is I request specific weeks off the prior year, so I don't have the type of job that allows you to just to take off in a
Did you
moment's
take
notice.
off the? Did you take off the third weekend or put in for notice for the third weekend of October, or did
Did
you
I?
try it all?
Well, this
Because
I'm out of vacation, so the week that I
okay,
had to go was moved so I could actually use for the my son's birth.
yeah, okay. I was tracking you because I was going to say Rendezvous has always been on the third weekend of every year, but if you were projecting last year, this year, for the
Right,
third weekend, but this is now on the second weekend
second.
of the month. So it's like I wonder if somebody else like you might have, not like you, but like had that forecasting they had to do, and they're like, oh yeah, the third weekend,
Right, as
guaranteed.
as long as we can place our vacation weeks, as long as we don't have too many off on that week, we can move our vacation. But the week that I had to go to Rendezvous, I actually had to move, so to take off for my son.
Yeah,
But since we don't get paid for FMLA, it's kind of a no-brainer to use it for that.
yeah, yeah. Well, guys, we are slowly getting there. We're at 23 minutes. You guys come up with some questions. Anybody got any questions about this topic?
Yeah, what made you think about this topic, Benji? 'Cause this is kind of out of left field a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. I was always kind of. I'm not a backpacker. I always, say Overlanders are the lazy backpackers of the world. But I know a lot of people in the group, are more outdoorsy. They're hunters, they're fishermen, they're kayakers, they're backpackers. It's kind of a little bit of everything. And I know some of the older guys, they can't really do the hiking that portion that much anymore. Their bodies are, wore out, I guess, or maybe they're to a size they don't enjoy it anymore.
Well,
And the overland portion kind of still feeds that itch or scratches that itch, and just kind of similar. I'm
kind
just
of
kind of curious as the similarities that cross over, positives, negatives, anything.
kind of what pushed me into it as far as walking with a backpack is I have a disability that affects my lower legs. My legs are weak, so any occupation or sports or whatever that I can do that works my legs and allows me to build strength in them is something I would like to do. Like I golf, bowl, and then backpacking was just something I could do that would force me to use my legs. Kind of like riding a bicycle. I do that a lot. I mountain bike a lot, so that definitely allows me to work on all that stuff and keep myself flexible and strong.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good way to utilize that for sure. So that's just kind of why I came up with it. I don't know. You
That's
guys are more
fair.
than welcome to come up with anything I'm missing because I'm not a backpacker by any means.
Well, I will say for anyone that wants to do backpacking, keep in mind it's very minimalist. It's it kind of gatekeeps itself in the sense that you have to get nicer, more expensive stuff. Otherwise, you're not going to have as good of a time. But if you can suffer through the bad moments in the very beginning, then you're going to enjoy what backpacking has to offer so much more.
Yeah, I guess the biggest thing that what you would have to learn to do when backpacking, especially if you're not a hiker beforehand, is learn to build your body's tolerance to hike that far with that amount of weight on your back. So you were in the army, so you were pretty predisposed to all that, so you knew what it entailed. So the biggest thing that I've seen is a lot of folks will pack a bunch of big old backpack and they have it sitting on the floor, and then they'll pick it on their back and like, oh Lord, it's heavy. And they'll go start walking around the yard, and they're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be walking around the mountains with this thing on my back. And they kind of realize it's not everything in the kitchen sink. You just kind of learn to what you have to take. So it kind of, like he said, it feeds off of itself and teaches you to only take what's necessary.
Now I've been into outdoor shops and stuff, and like and even Bass Pro. If you go over to their backpacking hiking section, all the lightweight stuff, all the compact stuff's a premium. You're paying premium for that stuff. They've put a lot of engineering into that. I have noticed that. That's why I was kind of curious. Also, is you're spending the jack for those quality items. Do you carry those over to the overland scene with you? I'm sure you do for some items. If it's cookware maybe, or even silverware. I don't know. But that's just I was just wanting to do the similarities of both worlds,
Yeah, the
and if there was
big thing
combining the
on
two.
big thing on cookware on backpacking is a lot of stuff is titanium, and titanium's stronger than steel, but a lot lighter. So that definitely adds to the lightweight factor.
Yeah, I'll definitely say for myself, I paid almost $400 for a ground tent that I still have put the poles together. I am using that tent every chance I get. I am getting every dollar out of that tent.
Yeah.
It's
What's the
kind of
weight
like
on
those.
that sucker?
Oh, that tent, it weighs less than 2 pounds. It is light. I can
About a
toss
pound and a
it.
half, I would guess.
If that, I would
That's
say a
rough.
pound point two, maybe. I'll have to look at it, but it's a damn good tent. I don't know if I can say that on here. My bad.
Well, now we're gonna have to put the E on the rating. Rated E for explicit.
Not
Thought E
everyone. Ain't
was
that
for
what EA
everyone.
Sports?
In
No,
the
E is
game?
for everyone. But whenever you see that on the CD, boys, make sure your kids aren't in the car.
MA.
Um, Man, I had a really good question. It escaped me. You guys will have to come up with another good question in the meantime.
I don't know if I have a good question, but for anyone interested, I will say with backpacking, a lot of the fun is kind of like overlanding, where you get a lot of joy out of watching the YouTube videos, learning, planning your first route, getting everything together. Most of the joy is in even before your boots hit the ground. You're having fun, you're planning, you're getting excited, you're getting those thoughts in your head. It's a good time.
Well, it's like a game of Tetris. You kind of got to figure out how much food you're going to eat, where the water is going to go, how much where exactly in the backpack do you have to pack it, because you don't want to get out there on the trail and realize you need a band-aid because you scratched your leg and the band-aid's at the bottom of the backpack. So you got to unload the entire backpack to get to the bottom of it. So you kind of have to be mindful of how you pack it.
I'll be really honest with everything Hayden just said. It gave me an aneurysm just thinking about it. I don't want to go hiking. I
Come
mean, I'll
on.
go hiking. I'll
Come
go
on.
hiking. But now I'm throwing a pack on my back, and
Hmm.
I don't know. I mean, I told a few friends of mine, and some of them had the same intentions this year. Hey man, we're gonna get into some shape. We're gonna go. We're gonna go on more backpacking trips than overland trips this summer. Well, it's been hot. It's been really hot.
It has. And the heat
And
sucks.
that doesn't sound fun to trek out there in the summer with a pack and all this stuff, hiking up the hills, fighting the bugs and humidity. I'll just be honest with you, boys. I'd rather be in my 4Runner with the AC going, and you can call me a yuppie if you want. That's where I'm at.
We have battery powered fans.
Oh,
I probably won't be calling you anything because I'll be out of breath as you're passing me. But with that being said, I've seen how long your legs are, Benji. You'd be a great backpacker. You
yeah.
could cover
Short.
so much ground.
See, that's what everybody always said growing up, like with sports. Like, oh, lucky you've got long legs. I'm like, well, I also outweigh you by 60 pounds, so that's just extra, work on me. But anyway, my good question came back to me, but I forgot it again.
You're
Kyle, I
killing
know
me,
there's a
Smalls.
question stirring in your brain.
No, there's not a question, but earlier we were talking about, my plans as far as getting out there. But what me and my wife have is a state park book from Arkansas that you can get
Oh, yeah, we saw those.
stamps and dates. And we have a
Yeah.
national park book that we got from the national park in Hot Springs that has places in it where you can stamp your passport locations in your national parks. So I think that's kind of what we're going to primarily focus on, is going to state parks, because that'll still allow us to bring a toddler and have places to change and throw away excess trash like diapers or whatnot. And so it'd definitely be more conducive to camping state parks versus primitive camping like we were doing.
Yeah, are most of those state parks you have to pay, or is it kind of like the honor system? Like there's a little box there. Does it depend on some of them?
It's all the state parks that I've been in, you reserve online, and
Okay.
you
And you
Nebo and
pay.
Costa, right? And you pay just like
Okay.
$25 a day for a primitive site, or like 40
Okay.
bucks for like a RV site.
Because we did a couple of those last year. I just wasn't sure on a national level. I'm sure they're pretty much the same. Just vary state to state, and if it's federal or national, I don't know.
I haven't been to any national parks. I've been to Grand Canyon, but I haven't ever camped there, so I don't know exactly how the national parks work as far as
'Cause-
staying in an RV there. Because Hot Springs is just a location; it doesn't have a campsite.
right. Yeah, some of
So,
those you got to be really careful as to the type of environment I guess you're camping at.
so
Anyway,
I stayed. I was at Big Bend, and it was kind of like you had to pay online for half of it, but the other half was only reserved at the park. So it was kind of weird.
okay, my good question came back. Unless you want to touch on that, Kyle, I saw you.
Oh, you can go ahead with it before you forget it again.
I appreciate that. I actually wrote it down this time. So I was talking to the diesel heater topic has arose from the ashes of summer as we
Right.
head in towards the colder months. So everyone out there, you could spend $200 on a really nice down blanket, or you could get a diesel heater for $130. It's your call. Take a sheet with you. I don't care. They're big and bulky, yes, but anyway, that's not where I was going with this. I was going to ask you guys, A, raise your hand or say yes if you have a diesel heater.
Negative.
Crickets. Okay, so this might answer my second question for myself, or I might have already answered it with that one. Do you guys enjoy winter camping?
I
You go ahead.
I do actually. I do.
Do you hot tent camp, or do you just go out in your $400 tent just because you have to justify it?
I kind of just go out there. Well, I don't get winter camping down here in Texas, so it's like
Yes, you guys
yeah.
had a meltdown a few years ago when you hit 31 degrees and all the pipes busted.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
weird white stuff on the ground. I tried to snort it, it melted. I didn't know what was going on.
Okay, so you enjoy winter camping in 40s,
Yes.
maybe upper 30s.
And
Yes.
me and my wife went to Mount Nebo in Arkansas,
Nice.
last October, and the forecast was mid 40s, upper 60s. It was supposed to be just awesome winter camping, have a campfire, and be warm and shit. But there was a lake wind advisory that got issued that week, and the wind was like 45 to 50 miles an hour with gusts to 60, and the
Wow.
ambient temperature actually got pushed down to about 22.
Wow.
So we were in my tent, and my tent is canvas, and we were zipped up in it. At night, we were probably peaking at about 60 degrees ambient temperature in the tent, but we have a 20-degree sleeping bag plus a couple other quilts that we last. So we were warm all night long without fear of being cold in my tent, but outside it was just miserable because of the lake winds. We
Yeah.
pretty much only went outside when the sun was shining.
And you've got, what's your rooftop tent? What is it?
It's a Rome Vagabond. It's a soft shell.
Okay, so that flips out, right?
Flips out.
Have you ever had it try to close up on you in a high west wind gust?
I haven't, and we were at the I don't know. I think it was at Rendezvous actually, where we had the gust of winds, and one of the gust of winds actually tried to tear up my awning, my Rome awning. But I think that scattered everybody else out on the campgrounds about 3 that morning to fix what they didn't have tied down. So it hasn't had a chance to close up on me, but I've always had it guy lying down and staked to the ground.
See, I need to do that. I had it happen twice last year, and both times obviously we're up on a hill, where the gusts of wind was just beating down real hard. But I was scared one time. It folded up. I don't know what percentage to gauge it off of, but let's say it folded up on the side about 30 degrees, which was that's a lot.
Right.
And I was like, if this thing folds up anymore, I'm going to lose my exit chance. Because the ladder is going to be above. And this was like at, 2 in the morning. It was just me and another guy. And he was, it's Kelly. He's got his Ram, what is that thing? It's a Ram
Rebel
Power
Wagon.
Yeah. And he's got the skinny guy camper on the back. So he's like, passed out because he's like, it's like a hotel on wheels.
Oh wow.
And I'm like, I gotta get out of this thing now, because if I yell at him, he's just gonna be sleeping. So anyway, I was gonna ask you, curious if you've ever had that issue, and if anybody else has had that issue, please call in. This is a shameless plug for the Shenanigans Show, 314-266-9536, and tell me about your experience. But going back to cold weather, do you guys see yourselves ever getting a diesel heater?
Probably
as far
not.
as far as me, no. We've got a little buddy heater that runs off propane if it just gets that miserable. But a lot of times when we camp, it's really only cold at night, and a lot of times we're already retired to the tent anyways.
Yeah.
So we haven't really had a need for it, especially when camping at 22 degrees. I think at that point it was just so cold it probably wouldn't have done anything anyway. Not to mention that the week that we stayed there had a burn ban, so we couldn't even burn a fire. So
yeah, the thing is, the coldest I've been in my tent with a diesel heater was 14 degrees Fahrenheit, and the inside of my tent was 80 degrees.
Wow,
it was insane.
It was
I was
smoking,
like, sweating. Like, turn this thing down. But what I was like, it's a dry heat anyway. I'm not trying to push diesel heaters. I was just curious as to y'all like winter camping, because that's really opened up another 3 months for me to go out, and plus there's no bugs and hardly any people when it's that cold and frigid.
That's
just
true.
pajama pants underneath your jeans and a good down jacket and gloves and good socks, and and a toboggan. You lose a lot of heat out of your head, so a lot of people don't realize that. Keep your head covered, and it saves you big time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, honestly, if you're walking, you're going to stay pretty warm. You're not even going to notice that's that cold out until you stop. And even then,
that you're making these feelings reoccur for me again. Now I'm getting nauseous. You talk about hiking in the winter now. No.
Part
Right.
part of what part of
that's
what
half the
taught
backpacking.
part of what taught me how to bundle up for cold is my 9 years of riding motorcycles. So you definitely
Ooh,
can tell exactly where you are missing a spot when you're riding
Yeah.
20 degrees on a motorcycle. It's typically around your ankles and your wrists or in your
Yeah,
neck.
my fingers always freeze up real bad for some odd reason. I don't know why.
But
When it gets
for my Harley,
cold.
if it gets really cold, I have a heated jacket that I can plug in. It has a little plug in that goes to the battery. So I'm pretty toasty on my car, but the people at work think I'm crazy. They said, "You can't be warm in that thing." I said, "I am very warm."
Those are cool. My wife's got one of them. I don't think they make them in my size.
Oh, yeah, they do. Just go to the Harley store and get you one.
Oh, and I gotta buy HD. That's about a $400 jacket or more.
Ooh,
They're
might as well
worth
buy a
it though.
tent.
Needed. Honey, where are you going? I'm camping in this stupid tent. You bought that 20 years ago. I don't care.
Hey,
Yeah,
it'll
that's what my
probably still go up too.
that's what my wife said when we got our rooftop tent. So we're gonna get our money's worth out of it. And
That's
that's
right.
definitely been done.
So here's some fun math, just on rooftop tent justification purchasing or whatever. So if you go, let's say you're going to go to Colorado. If you're going to find a decent room for the night, you're paying over $300, $200 if it's in a nice part of the world. You know, times that by a 4 to 5 night, trip, boom, there's your rooftop tent. So if
Yep.
you're going to go out and sleep more than like 10 times, 5 to 10 times a year in it, I say they're 100% worth it. Now, guys, go tell your wives this. Say, Benji, this guy, he has a podcast. He knows everything. And he said it's okay to do. You got my permission. Now go buy a rooftop tent.
Yeah,
Now some people don't like rooftop tents either, but that's fine. You'll get you a nice, easy Gazelle or something.
they do have their drawbacks. You definitely kind of plant where you want to be for a few days.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you just don't unload much and get good at unloading it and packing it back up. So it definitely causes issue when you think about mobility as far as
That's what happens at Rendezvous.
right.
Everyone there, you set up your camp. You want to mark your territory. Hey, this is my setup. Then you pack it all up to go wheel, and you come back, and there's people set up, and you're like, whoa, 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 and they're, you can't get mad at them,
Right.
except for the guys that have the ground tents, or if they've got a trailer, for base camp. That's the only time those guys get to shine, really, in my
Right.
opinion, is whenever you get to claim your territory. Anyway.
Yeah, pack up is time shine, buddy. I'm done in 15 minutes. But then I spend next 30 helping everyone else.
That's nice too. I see. See if I don't know. I've been talking too much. What else do you guys want to talk about?
I don't know, man. Literally just any other, like, wandering about backpacking.
I think you guys solidified my decision that I probably will never get into backpacking.
All right, you will not be taking the Subarus. Got it.
I think I will attempt to say that again.
The
Subaru.
Subarus?
Is that a backpacking joke?
It's a shoe and then a Subaru mashup.
Like your Chevrolegs? Your Lamborghinis? I can go all day.
Is it?
Well, I guess with that we'll end the show. I'm just joking.
Oh.
Is,
No, that's really cool, guys. I want the camaraderie. I want to be included with this stuff, but you can tell I do not go hiking.
they've got forest roads for cars. They got single track for mountain bikes, and they got hiking trail for your feet. You got one of 3 options. You haven't explored the backpacking, so I advise you do it.
Hey,
You don't even
gotta
have
try
to
it at
have a
least
back.
once.
You don't even have to have a backpack. Get you a Camelback with a water reservoir and just load
Here's
you up
what's
some stuff.
funny. Here's what's funny. My wife bought me a pretty nice backpacking or pack, whatever you want to call it. I've got a pretty nice one. It's I think it's a Coleman brand, but it's really long, I guess, and it's got all the things you could put all your stuff on. I'm like, all right, cool, yeah. It was 3 years ago.
All right,
My
so I'm
back-
hearing that we're going backpacking. You're finally going to pull that out.
So
That was 3 years ago, and I've yet to attempt it.
you're still
Hey,
thinking about
we
it.
can pull that out now. We'll make a trip.
I would love to make a trip. Like if there's a couple people, let's do it.
Well, as far as backpacking, the backpacks themselves are designed to distribute the weight around your body, so you don't have that old school, going to school with all your school books tugging on your
Right.
shoulders the whole time. Like
Yeah,
mine
it's got that
buckles
waist
around my
strap.
chest and buckles around my
Yeah.
waist, and I really don't feel it on my shoulders. And I have a Kelty, I think it's a 45 or a 60 liter. It's a pretty big one, but not the biggest 70 or 80 or however big they go. But they have a brain pack on the top, and then zippers all at the bottom, and then you have the wings that come around that can hold your radio, your phone, or whatever else. And then it has a spot to put your hydration bladder in it.
Yeah.
They're pretty
Take your word
fancy.
for it.
That-
I wish. All right, so since this one might be on YouTube, I'm not sure. So comment down below, guys, what you guys are. If you're a backpacker, anti-backpacker, or you go both ways. I don't know. So, guys, we're coming up on 45 minutes right now, and I know this episode's been all over the place. I need to get better at structuring my questions, I guess, in the format and filling you guys in on kind of what I anticipate for this one. But I think we eventually got there. I don't know. I think I still want to try to do at least one trip. I'm not going to do no 6 miles in a day. I'll probably do like a 2-miler in and a 2-miler out. I don't know. We'll see. If I get with the right people to motivate me and go and, threaten
6
me.
miles ain't really. That's not too bad. You walk about 4 miles an hour, so that's about an hour and a half, 2 hour hike.
Yeah, I am not your average human.
Hey, man, no one says you have to go far for it to be backpacking. It's just like overlanding. Don't.
Where'd Benji go? Oh, he's still taking pictures of another tree over there huffing wind. That's funny.
Yeah, it's a good
No.
community, though. I think you'd like it.
Okay, I'll have to try it. I will have to try it. I'm not bashing you. I'll try it. Guys, how can people get a hold of you, Kyle? Kyle, let's start with Kyle.
Instagram or on Bayou _angler 87, and then I have on Facebook my personal profile at Kyle Hines, and then I have my Overlanding page, Bayou Overlander, and then my local North Louisiana group that I'm trying to get some commitment to and communities built around North Louisiana, because a lot of people think I'm carrying luggage on the top of my truck, but it's Bayou State Overlanding.
All right. We will put all this in the show notes below. What about you, Hayden?
I don't have a lot of social media. Me and my wife tried to make an Instagram showing our vehicles and little overlanding adventures. That one's called Howell Outdoors. It's HOWELL Outdoors. Other than that, it's just my Facebook, which I'm on Budget Overland. Feel free to say hi to me in comments. I'm very friendly.
Cool. Guys, I appreciate you coming on. I think those that are interested in both of these topics will have stuck through the entire thing. It's just kind of fun to switch it up a little bit. I like having the roundtable discussions, and I'm kind of branching out into stuff like this to where there's different topics, I guess. I just don't like having the same old mundane.
I will mention another thing that backpackers do is a lot of times they will set up a base camp and then use a day pack to go and hike a trail and then come back to the base camp. So a lot of times people could adapt their vehicles to be the base camp, and you don't carry as big as a backpack. You just carry a day pack to go out on a 3 or 4 hour hike and then come back that evening. But you don't camp anywhere. You just make it out and back and come back to your vehicle.
I've done that.
That's very
It's best of both worlds.
I'm flaring up again.
All right.
All right, guys. I appreciate you coming on. We made it to 50 minutes. That's pretty good.
Not bad.
Not bad. All right, guys. If you haven't already, go to Apple Podcasts, leave a review. You will be entered to win a drawing. Every 50, we do a Super Swag Pack giveaway. And this time, whenever we hit 200, we are going to do a Super Swag Pack Plus giveaway, which is you get the Super Swag Pack, plus you get the Morphlate 4-way inflator deflator hose kit, 155-inch. Thanks to Morphlate for donating that to me for, I guess, dangling that carrot in front of you to go leave a review. So, little incentives here and there to never hurt anybody. Guys, we will see you back here Monday for Overland Shenanigans. Bye-bye.
Thank you.